The courtroom fell silent as the teenager stepped forward. The judge smirked, certain this was a joke. "Son," she said, "this isn't a game." But when the young man dropped a stack of legal briefs on the table and quoted precedent after precedent, jaws dropped, because the so-called teenager wasn't there to be judged. He was there to deliver justice. And what happened next shocked the entire courtroom. Courtrooms carry an air of finality. Polished oak benches, heavy curtains, the weight of justice in every corner. On that day, it seemed like just another case. A minor theft trial, small in scale compared to the cases that usually filled the docket. The defendant, a young man, barely out of high school, wearing a plain suit that looked 2 sizes too big. He shuffled nervously, drawing whispers from the crowd. The judge, a stern woman named Judge Collins, leaned forward, irritation already etched across her face. She had seen it all. Cocky lawyers, desperate defendants, grandstanding speeches. But a teenager standing where a licensed attorney should be? To her it was an insult, and she made her feelings known. "Son," Judge Collins said with a smirk, "this isn't debate club. You're in a court of law. Maybe sit back down before you embarrass yourself." The courtroom chuckled. Even the bailiff stifled a grin, but the young man didn't flinch. His eyes, sharp and unwavering, met the judge's. "With all due respect, Your Honor, I am fully prepared to proceed. Hand the law," he tapped the stack of papers, "is on my side." The laughter stopped. The teenager's name was Adrian. At just 19, he had already completed law school through an accelerated program. A child prodigy, mentored by one of the city's most respected attorneys, he had chosen this case, an apparently minor one, as his first public defense. The case involved his cousin, wrongfully accused of shoplifting. The prosecution thought it was open and shut. Surveillance footage, as store clerk's testimony. But Adrian knew better. He had spent weeks poring over the evidence, studying inconsistencies, preparing arguments that even seasoned attorneys might overlook. The judge, however, didn't know any of this. As the prosecution presented its case, Adrian scribbled notes with quiet confidence. The prosecutor, seasoned and smug, dismissed him with a wave of the hand. "Your Honor, this child can't be serious, counsel." But when it was Adrian's turn, everything changed. He stood, cleared his throat, and began. His voice was steady, his arguments sharp. He dissected the prosecution's timeline, pointed out flaws in the video footage, and highlighted contradictions in the clerk's testimony. And then, he did the unthinkable. He cited a Supreme Court case from memory, word for word, perfectly aligned with the defense. The courtroom gasped. Even Judge Collins leaned back in her chair. The prosecutor stumbled. His case, once ironclad, was unraveling. The judge, once mocking, now leaned forward with interest. Adrian revealed that the video footage had been altered, frames missing. He produced receipts, showing his cousin had purchased the items legally. He even brought in an expert witness, someone he had convinced to testify despite his age. By the time Adrian finished, the case wasn't just weak, it was crumbling. Judge Collins could hardly believe it. The teenager she had mocked had just dismantled an entire case with precision that rivaled senior attorneys. "Mr. Carter," she said slowly, "how old did you say you were?" 19, Your Honor." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. "Then I owe you an apology, because today you've demonstrated more professionalism, preparation and brilliance than lawyers twice your age." The judge's gavel struck. The case was dismissed. News spread quickly. "Teen genius attorney wins first case." Headlines filled the city. Adrian's name became synonymous with brilliance and perseverance. The judge who once mocked him. She later invited him to speak to young law students about resilience. And the prosecutor who laughed at him? He quietly avoided cases where Adrian was the opposing counsel. But for Adrian, it wasn't about fame. It was about justice. For his cousin, for anyone overlooked, underestimated, or mocked. This wasn't just a story about a courtroom victory. It was about prejudice, the kind that dismisses youth, underestimates intelligence, and mocks those who dare to step forward. Judge Collins thought she was schooling a teenager. Instead, she received a lesson herself. Never underestimate someone's potential. Adrian proved that brilliance knows no age, that preparation can silence mockery, and that sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one no one saw coming. So the next time someone laughs at you, mocks your dreams, or tells you that you don't belong, remember Adrian's story, because sometimes The greatest shock isn't in the courtroom. It's in realizing that the person you doubted most was a genius in disguise.